I hope you enjoyed your overview of ChatGPT, natural language processing, and machine learning that we discussed in this video series. I want to leave you with a few pointers to resources that you can use and lessons that you can take going forward. The first is that I hope that you've learned that ChatGPT can be a great resource and that you've played around with it a little bit and found some new things that maybe you didn't know it could do, or maybe you hadn't played around with it before and now you understand some of what it's capable of. I would encourage you to use it for things like brainstorming. I find myself using it all the time in my daily life whenever I need ideas about something or things like that. But you should be careful to verify what it tells you with other sources. Particularly when it's something important, don't just trust that it has the facts right. Try to Google them and find other places to confirm them independently yourself. If you want to go on and study more and do work in this field, the types of courses you could take kind of fall into a few categories. You could take more programming and software engineering. That will usually be helpful and is probably a good idea. But it's actually not as critical to have like a lot of years of experience with that as you might think. These systems are very complex, but a lot of that complexity is not like the types of things that you learn when building very large software systems. Courses in machine learning or data science will give you insight into kind of how these systems work and are probably the most relevant thing. And then you do want some mathematical fundamentals like probability and calculus in order to do things here as well. But again, these aren't essential. There's a lot that you can do even if you have the sort of understanding that we have here. You could still play around with these systems, build applications on top of them without knowing how all of the math works. There's a couple of online resources that I like to recommend. The first is a tutorial on sentiment analysis. This won't use ChatGPT, but will kind of get you a sense of how people build these sorts of systems in Python and do natural language processing with the sorts of tools that are out there now. Andrew Ng's course on Coursera is also a great introduction to machine learning. It's open to everyone. So we find plenty of students at UT Austin who can't get into the machine learning courses or whatever, end up kind of taking this over a summer to get some background on it. If you want to know more about the neural networks specifically, there are blogs from Chris Olah and Jay Alamar which explain how a lot of the pieces work. These can get fairly sophisticated, but they do have some nice visuals that will try to break down the concepts and hopefully you can get something out of. And finally, if you want to play around with these models yourself, there's a large open source ecosystem around building things like ChatGPT. Hugging Face is one place where you can get versions of these models that are freely available. The main caveat there is that you probably need a fairly powerful computer in order to run them. But you can go on there and see what's available and try to check it out. And there's also libraries like LangChain here, which I've listed at the end, that allow you to take these systems like ChatGPT and wrap them in larger software systems to build things that use ChatGPT as part of an application that can help plan a trip for you by Googling a bunch of places and then using maps to plan a route and then asking ChatGPT what you should do in each one and things like that. So if you're inclined to go try to build something, I encourage you to take a look here. It is kind of a pretty sophisticated library, and so these things will take a lot of understanding of Python in order to dive into, but you might take a look and be surprised at what you find, and I would love to see where all of you go with this. Thank you for your attention. That's the end of the segment.